Oh, hang on. I'm sorry. I'm running a little late here. I'm just trying to gather up the rest of my eBay sales. I'll be right up. Just a minute.
I think this would be a good time for me to sing you a song. It's an old Irish ballad about a young man who travels to... Wait, what's that? Well, it seems that Mark has climbed up out of his hole and scrubbed himself up. He is now ready to proceed. Oh well, perhaps next time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mark Clemens Postcards. Sorry for the delay there. I was just searching for some more of my eBay sales. Fortunately, I found them, and I'm going to show them to you. And hey, Reggie, thank you for covering for me there for a couple minutes. I appreciate it, but whatever you do, please do not sing. All right, let's take a look at what sold over the past week. And I'm going to show you. So, starting out here are my sales for the week, the past week. We sold $622.98 worth of merchandise, 99% of that being postcards, of course. We had a total of 90 sales, and they averaged $6.92 a piece. So all in all, not a horrible week on eBay, a little bit better than the past week or two. So that's good, but we can always hope for better, right? But we'll take what we got, and let's see what makes up those numbers. First card here is the Barron Vale Covered Bridge in New Lexington, PA. This is a chrome era card. You can see that it's unused. And we look a little closer. It looks like a little boy there's getting ready to go fishing. That card, I do have more than one. I still have another one of those left. And that sold for $4.95. Here is the McKinley High School in El Dorado, Kansas. As I've said many times, just about everyone has gone to high school. So high school cards are a real good seller. This one is a white border era card. It is unused. If you look up here, you see the start time of this was February of 2017. So this has been in my store for a few years. But finally, the right person came along and bought it. It sold for $5.95. Here is a view in Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania. This is the suspension bridge across Pine Creek. You can see the bridge there in the distance. This is a divided back era card. I can't quite make out the year that it was posted on there. But it sold for $5.95. Then we have a view in New York City. This is the World Trade Center. I have quite a variety of different views of New York skyline with the Trade Center visible. This is a Continental era card, 6x4. You can see it is unused on the back. It's got the same scene there on the back as it does on the front. It's an attractive card that sold for $4.95. Here we have a mechanical card. This is a little girl mailing a letter. And as you can see on the mailbox, we have a slot here at the bottom and one at the top. You can change the day, and the date, and the month with a little wheel. One on the side here for the top number and one on the bottom here for the month of the year. So that is, as I said, a mechanical card. It was listed for $6.95, and I took an offer of $5.50. That was a divided back era card. It was posted in 1909. Next is a Marilyn Monroe card. If you saw my video I did about my purchase of a large lot of Marilyn Monroe cards, this is one of them. This is Marilyn on the cover of Look magazine in 1952. She's dressed up as a Georgia Tech football fan. That is a Continental size card, 6x4 again. That sold for $5.95. Here is a view in Richmond, Virginia. This is the falls of the James River. This is a white border error card. It is unused. You can see it looks pretty clean and crisp there. I believe this this is a Detroit publishing card. You can see that up in the corner and probably on the back here as well if this button weren't in the way. But that view sold for $5.95. Next, we have a view in Coney Island. This is a cafe and outdoor vaudeville show at Dreamland. This is a undivided back error card. It was supposedly used in 1906. I have had quite a few Coney Island views, and I've sold many of them over the past several years. And this one sold for $4.95. Here is a view in Aurora, Illinois. This is the Aurora, Elgin, and Chicago Railroad East Branch, and we have the DuPage River over here. You can see the tracks going off into the distance. This again is an undivided back card. It was postally used in 1905, and that sold for $7.95. This is a view in Lackawanna, New York. This is Our Lady of Victory Infant Home and Maternity Hospital. That is a white border error card, and we look at the back, we can see it was postally used in 1934, and that sold for $5.95. Here we have a Texas horned toad smoking a cigarette. This is a linen error card. It is doesn't appear to be posted. It doesn't have a stamp or a postmark, but it's got a message and it's filled out to address. It just never got sent, or possibly it was put in an envelope and mailed that way, which is why we don't have a stamp and a postmark on the card itself. And looking at the front of this, this was a big problem in Texas, these horned toads smoking, and they've pretty much gone extinct. A lot of them have died from lung cancer, so that's a pretty unfortunate situation there, but hey, they brought that on themselves. Here we have a buyer who bought 3 cards, and they were all from Cedar Point Amusement Park in Ohio. Let's look at one here. This is the lobby, the new lobby in the Hotel Breakers at Cedar Point. Here is, again, the lobby at Hotel Breakers at Cedar Point. Now, this is, as this one said, the new lobby, and this one just says the lobby, and you can see there's a big difference in the decor and style there, so there has been some changes made over the years. And lastly, we have another cozy corner at the Breakers Hotel in Cedar Point. So all 3 views having to do with the Breakers Hotel here. And that was 3 cards to the same buyer for a total of $14.85. Here we have a lighthouse. This is a view at Biddeford Pool, Maine. This is the Wood Island Lighthouse. A divided back card. It was posted in 1912. And that card sold for $7.95. Here's a military ship. We have the USS Ranger CV-61 aircraft carrier. A chrome error card, unused. I have quite a large stock of military ships, and they sell pretty good. This one sold for $4.95. Here was a buyer who bought 2 cards, both railroad related. The first one here is the B&O Railroad Centenary, say that word real fast 5 times. 1827 to 1927, this is the Camel locomotive, and this was a series of cards, all featuring railroad-related engines and trains and that kind of thing. The second car, this one sold for $5.95. I think this was a white border era card. Yeah, I guess it was 1927. The second card that they purchased, again, railroad related, the B&O Railroad. I'm not going to say that word again. And this is the Memnon locomotive. So both of these cards are of a series of railroad related topics. And each one of those sold for $5.95 a piece. Next we have a motel. This is the Coral Isle Motel in Hollywood, California. You can see a little sports car parked out front. Big fancy neon sign there in front of the building. Very contemporary style building. Multi-view card. Here you can see an interior view of the room. It doesn't appear that the TV is on that, although sometimes it's hard to tell. And so obviously Chrome era card, unused, and that sold for $4.95. Here is a view in Tottenville and Staten Island, New York. This is Bentley Street at the ferry. The ferry is down here. And also we have a restaurant here on the corner. The Aulick Restaurant. This card is undivided back. It was posted in 1912. And this card was originally listed for $12.95. I took an offer of $10. Here is something that is not a postcard. This is a memorial card, or a type of card you get at a funeral home when you go to a viewing. They give you a little card with a memorial of the person who has passed away. This one was for President John F. Kennedy, and you can see here on the back it has his name, his date of birth, date of death, and it has a little prayer here on the back. On the front is a nice picture of President Kennedy. These were just some items that were stuck in amongst some postcards that I purchased. I had 3 of these identical cards, and one buyer bought all 3 for a total of $17.85. Here is a view in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. This is 3rd Street looking east from Pine Street at night. See, it's a cloudy night. The moon is peeking out. This is a divided back era card, and it was posted in 1909. Let's see, that was listed for $5.95, but I took an offer of $5 on that one. Here's a real photo. This is a little girl sitting on a horse. You see these pretty often when you come across old real photos. This one was posted from Carlisle, Pennsylvania to Scottsdale, Pennsylvania. And I notice here I did not mention Carlisle seems to be clearly where this picture was taken. It says this is Leora Stone on Brother Will's pony in our backyard. So I think it's safe to say this was in Carlisle, and I didn't mention that. I don't know if that would have made a difference. And I guess not. It's not an auction item. But this sold rather quickly. You can see the little girl up there on the horse. Try to get a better view of her there. And I see a guy peeking over from behind there, probably keeping her steady on that horse, because that would be a long fall for a little child like that. So that card sold for $5.95. So keep your eye out for cards of children on horses. Here's a patriotic themed card. This is President Lincoln's entry into Richmond, Virginia on April 4th, 1865. You can see him there marching in with the soldiers. This is a divided back era card. It is embossed. You can see the design clearly on the back. This was published by International Art Company. It is postally unused. And it sold for $6.95. Then we have another real photo. Here we have a winter scene. You can see a dog house here. The dog's up here on looks like a porch or a deck. Got an old wagon sitting in the yard. The only information I had about this was on the back where it says west side of Emmett Citro's house at Connellsville, PA, and dog, and it's dated 1916. So, safe to say, this is a view in Connellsville, Pennsylvania, and I was hoping that somebody from that area would find this, and they did. This was listed for $12.95, and I took an offer of $11. Here we have a view at Madison, Connecticut. This is the East Wharf and Municipal Bathing Beach. An aerial view of that. Looks to be in chrome era card. Not a chrome finish, but date-wise, probably after 1939. And that one sold for $5.95. Here's another high school. And what did I tell you about high schools? Almost everybody went to one. This is Lincoln High School in Canton, Ohio. This is a white border card. It's postally unused. Pretty nice, clean condition. And that sold for $5.95. Here we have another religious themed card. This is the 10th commandment. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. You see, we have a fella here with, he looks like he's smoking a pipe. But this guy coming around the corner, he's got a dagger in his hand, and I don't know if he wants the pipe or if he wants the pottery or who knows. I don't know what he's after, but he's busy coveting, and he should not be doing that. This is a divided back era card. It's again embossed. You can see the impression from the design there. It's a Raphael Tuck card. And looks like it has a piece of tape across the bottom here. But that did not deter the buyer, and this card sold for $5.95. Here is a large letter card. This is from the University of Alabama at Tuscaloosa, Alabama, home of the Crimson Tide. Again, linen card. It's unused. Not the most colorful card, kind of muted there with the reds and yellows. But this card was listed for $8.95, and I took an offer, I believe, of $6.50. Then we have a view in Woodbury, New Jersey. This is a view of Broad Street. And you can see a busy place, lots of old cars on the street. We got a lot of storefronts and signs that we could read. This is a chrome era card. It was posted in 1973. It was listed for $5.95. I took an offer of $5. Here is a view in Oswego, New York, or Oswego, New York. This is West 1st Street looking north. You can see some old vintage autos and a trolley coming down the street there. A white border era card. It is not postally used. But looking at the front, you can see a little bit of some corner bumps and some edge wear on that. But nonetheless, that one sold for $5.95. Here we have a real photo. This is the Calvary Baptist Church in Harbor Beach, Michigan. And if we go and look at the back, we see this was posted in 1922. And there's the view again of the church. Got some old cars parked out. Might be Sunday. There's a lot of people there. Cars and a big water tower right by the church there. That one sold for $9.95. Here is a beach scene. This is the bathing beach at Atwood Lake Park in New Cumberland, Ohio. Chrome era card, unused. And you can see some boats, some people swimming, lots of people laying on the beach. And the smarter people are back here in the shade. That's where I would be, enjoying the beach without having to put up with the heat. So beach scenes are pretty popular. This one sold for $5.95. Here's a view in Houston, Texas. This is River Oaks Boulevard showing the country club, which what I presume is down here since the only building I see. Not a particularly fascinating view, not a lot going on here, but it is a linen era card. It is unused, and it sold for $5.95. I find that Texas cards usually sell pretty well. Here is a laminated reproduction card. I've spoken of these before. This was made from an authentic postcard, which was copied and in many cases enlarged. This, I believe, is, yes, this is 7 inches by 4 1/4, so it's a little larger than a standard postcard, and it is laminated with plastic, making it waterproof. So it's not the authentic card, but made from one. I had 2 copies of this. This one sold, leaving me with 1 more copy, and it sold for $5.95. I bought a huge amount of these recently from a local dealer. Here is a view in Alton Bay, New Hampshire. This is the B&M Railroad Station and Steamboat Landing. You can see a steamboat there at the landing. This card I listed in 2018. So again, a card that's been on there for a while, but I don't take them down once I put them up. So just a matter of waiting for the right person to come along. And in my case, I have cards that have been on there long enough for someone to be born, grow up, learn about postcards, and become a collector and come buy something from me. And hey, if that's what it takes, I'm okay with that. This card was originally listed for $9.95, and I was given an offer of $7, which I accepted, being that it has been on there a while. Again, undivided back, unused card, very clean. Sold for $7. Here's another card that I took an offer on. This again is the high school in Princeton, Illinois. Just a black and white view. Let's see, this card, oh wow, this one has been on there since 2015. That's 9 years this card has been in my eBay store. And it looks like a white border card. Let me go down here and look since I don't see the back. It is, yeah, it's a white border card. I had it listed for $5.95. I took an offer of $5. Here is a New York's World Fair card. This is a view of the Pepsi-Cola Pavilion and Walt Disney's It's a Small World exhibit. Usually New York's World Fair, they're not big sellers, you know, $3 to $5, maybe somewhere in that range on average, but occasionally you find something a little different. This card I could not find a comp for, I found other cards of this pavilion, but they're nothing exactly like this one. And so I really had nothing to go by, so I just took a wild guess and put $9.95 on it. And she sold pretty quick, so maybe I underpriced that, or maybe I got it just right. If anybody knows anything more about this card, I'd appreciate some info. Here we have a buyer who purchased 2 cards. This person is from Canada, and I do not ship outside of the U.S. generally because of eBay's international shipping program. They just make the cost of shipping outside of the country extravagantly high, and I had an issue with a buyer who bought something that I could have sent to Canada for $1.30 international stamp, and because of eBay's international shipping program, it ended up costing them like $12. So they were a little mad at me, although I really didn't have much to do with that. So I dropped out of the international shipping program and restricted myself to just the USA. This person desperately wanted these 2 cards, so I was able to come up with a Canadian shipping option, which allowed me to mail him these cards for just $1.75. And the first one here is a view in Vanconet or something like that in Ontario, Canada. It's just a rural scene, the dirt road and the house here. It is a postally used card, 1929. It's a real photo. And the other card is a bridge, Rabbits Bridge at Dalhousie Lake in Ontario, Canada. Again, a real photo. That one's unused. And this buyer made me an offer. This one was $24.95, and he made me an offer of $22, which I accepted. This one, I believe, was $7.95. He made me an offer of $5.50. I accepted, since he was buying the 2. So the 2 totaled $27.50, and I was able to ship those to Canada with merely a $1.30 international stamp. Next up, we have the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, Tennessee. A view looking across, looks like a river here. This is a divided back card, posted 1910. And that sold for $5.95. This is a non-postcard item, obviously, as you look at it. This is a Rolling Rock beer napkin/menu holder. It was made in 1979. You can see a side view there, how you would put your napkins down in here, or whatever you wanted to put in here. Here's the back view. A couple years ago, I attended a local auction at a beer distributor who was the largest distributor in this area of Rolling Rock beer, and they had an entire warehouse full of Rolling Rock promotional items and memorabilia, which they sold, cleaned that warehouse out. I was at that auction and managed to pick up some things, and this was among those. I got a box full of these. And I sold this online for $19.95. It was a pickup only item because it's not that large, but in order to pack it and sufficiently enough to protect it, it would end up being probably, $18 to $20 to ship, which is as much as the item cost. So I thought that was kind of prohibitive. A local person purchased it, and a very nice fellow came and picked it up yesterday, and that sold for $19.95. Back to postcards. This is a lot of 100 Florida unused linens. These are some pretty nice cards in here, and this lot would be great for a reseller. I just have way more cards than I will live long enough to list, So I decided to put together a couple lots like this of some nice cards to move some stock and maybe give somebody else an opportunity to get some cards they could resell. Just a sampling of what's in there. There's the famous green benches. There's a shuffleboard court. There's a concert in the park. Here's some people working in an orange grove. Here's a library in Orlando. Here's a moonlight view. Look at a couple more. There's a zoo in Sanford, a church in St. Petersburg, a beach scene in Miami, a hotel in Sanford, Florida, and on and on. There's a yacht basin in St. Petersburg. So a lot of nice cards in that lot of 100. It was an auction item. I started at $19.95. It got 6 bids and closed at $26, so I'm pretty happy with that. And free shipping to that buyer, so that's a good buy for either a collector or a reseller. I'm going to get in the next few days, try to get a few more similar lots put together. Clear out some shelf space. Next up, we have a view in Provincetown, Massachusetts. This is landing Marines at the railroad wharf. And we can see this is it looks like a divided back era card, but it was not posted until 1962, and that's possible. You can't always go by the date, because sometimes people buy cards and put them in a drawer and don't mail them for years later, or maybe they passed away and a relative found them and decided, hey, I'm going to use these. And so the postal date doesn't always match up with the era of the card, so you need to take a look at that. But anyways, this card sold for $7.95. This is a view at Mackinac Island in Michigan. It says Gitche Manitou. Now, I have no idea what Gitche Manitou is, but you can see we're basically just got a little dirt road going along the edge of the water here. There's an unusual rock formation. Maybe that's what they're referring to. I don't know. If anyone knows what the Gitche Manitou is, let me know. I'm curious. But anyway, it's an undivided back card. It is not postally used, and it sold for $7.95. Then, it's another view of the World Trade Center. I mentioned I have several or a variety of different views of the World Trade Center. Here's another one. Again, it's a continental view. And it is postally unused. Nice view of the city and the towers there. That sold for $4.95. I see I had 2 of those of that identical view, and both have sold now. Here is another of the laminated reproduction cards. This one is here in my hometown of Greensburg, PA. This is the Westminster Presbyterian Church. This is the back of it. Again, this is a reproduction of an authentic card. And I don't know if you've watched many of my videos. In a recent one where I was showing some Greensburg cards from my personal collection, I mentioned this card. And over here, just to the right of the church, you can see the peak of a roof here. That is my grandparents' house. I spent some time there as a small child, did some overnights and played there a few times, and I remember this house very well. It's no longer in our family, but every time I see this card and I see the house over there, it makes me think of those times. So anyway, a reproduction card, laminated, sold for $5.95. Here is a view in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. This is the Vaughn Literature Building at Bucknell University. This is I believe, a white border card. Again, posted in 1946. And that one sold for $5.95. Here's an unusual view. This is the cave, I guess the cave restaurant at the Grunwald Hotel in New Orleans, Louisiana. This is a very unusual room. I mean, you can see it certainly looks like a cave with all the stalagmites and stalactites. Don't ask me which is which. You got some unusual statuary there. And just a really odd looking place. But you can see the tables and chairs, obviously. It is a dining room. As this card says, view looking down the north aisle. And it is a white border card. It is unused. It does have some foxing front and back, which is that yellowing you see around the edges and on the, particularly here on the back. Just an unusual card. That was listed for $5.95. I took an offer of $4 on that one. Here is a view in Indiana, Pennsylvania. This is a view at the State Normal School. It's the main building with the annex and the dining hall. A divided back era card posted in 1914. And that sold for $5.95. Another Pennsylvania view. This is a view of the Great Meadows and Fort Necessity near Farmington, Pennsylvania. Again, a divided back view posted in 1909. Fort Necessity was the site of the first battle of the French and Indian War. Now, I don't know that because I'm so smart. I just had the foresight to look that up so I could tell you that. So this was the site of a battle of the French and Indian War, and that card sold for $7.95. Then we have a couple more Canadian cards, and again, one buyer bought two cards, and because I solved the issue with mailing to Canada, I was able to send these inexpensively. The first one here is the big one in from the tower at the Lake of Bays in Ontario, Canada. This is the big one in here, you can see, on the edge of the water. A real photo postcard. It was posted, but I cannot make out the year that it was posted. It's not dark enough to read. The second card that the same buyer purchased is again another view at the Big One Inn. This is looking at the rotunda facing the lake. Again at Lake of Bays in Ontario, Canada. And let's see. Yes, both cards sold for $5.95 each. So those are going back to Canada. So that's it for today as far as what sold this past week. That was quite a few items out of the 90. I think we looked at about 50. So that was a real good sampling. I hope you enjoyed looking at those cards. If you have any comments about anything you saw there, please let me know. If you think I'm showing too many cards, tell me that. If you would like to see more cards, tell me that as well. I just want to know what you guys think about what I'm doing, and I want to do stuff that interests you. So thanks for taking a look at those. And now we're going to transition and go take a look at some more cards from my personal collection. So sit tight. Okay, so it's time again to take a look at some cards from my personal collection. Today I thought I would do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you some cards from a different collection that we haven't looked at before, and that would be the Pennsylvania Turnpike. When I first thought to do this, I thought, well, this won't take long. It's not quite as big of a collection as some of the other things that I like to collect. But as I went through it, I realized there's a little bit more to it than I thought. So we might have to visit this again in the future to see some more cards. But for today, we'll go with what I have here. And we're not going to go necessarily in a east-west or west-east direction like I have been doing with the Lincoln Highway. But we will just kind of jump around. So I hope you can follow along. If you're not familiar with the Pennsylvania Turnpike, it was originally opened in 1940, in the fall of 1940, and it was considered the first superhighway. It was also called the Dream Highway. When it first opened, the Turnpike was only 160 miles long, and it extended from Carlisle to Irwin, Pennsylvania. But over the decades, it has been extended across the whole way across the state, and it also has several extensions. So it has tripled in size since the original 160 miles. Today, it comprises 550 miles of roadway. It has grown and expanded quite a bit over the years. This first card we're going to look at is a map of it's Pennsylvania, plus it shows the Turnpike here. Now this one is a little longer than the original, but you can see it here in the Irwin area and extending across the southern part of the state towards Philadelphia. Next, we have a large letter Turnpike card. Here you see the words Pennsylvania Turnpike, and in the background, we're looking out of one of the tunnels towards another tunnel. We will look at a similar card in a few minutes. Here is another large letter linen. Again, the words Pennsylvania Turnpike, and at the top, we see the Midway service station. Here is a multi-view card. In the center we have the Midway service station, and that is at the near the Bedford exit. And originally it's called the Midway because originally it was about the approximate midway point between the original Turnpike, which ran from Irwin to Carlisle. It is no longer the midway point, but it is still referred to as the Midway, and it's one of the largest service plazas on the Turnpike. Some other views here on this card. We see the Tuscarora Tunnel. We see the Cathedral of Learning in Pittsburgh, although that has nothing to do with the Turnpike. It's basically saying that the Turnpike runs from Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, so it's showing us a couple things here, one in Pittsburgh and one in Harrisburg. Here's the state capitol. And then here is a toll gate, view of one of the toll gates up here in the top right corner. Here's another card that combines a map with a view of the highway. Up top here we see the 4-lane highway, 2 lanes in each direction, and one of the many bridges that crosses over the Turnpike. And down here again we see the map. Here is the original Turnpike, starting in Irwin and going across to Carlisle. And it shows the tunnels. There were originally 7 tunnels. We're going to talk about tunnels in a minute. And here are the interchanges. There were, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Originally 11 interchanges where you could get on and off the highway. Here's a view at the Midway Service Plaza. Here again you see the building which housed a restaurant and a gift shop, and it was also a place where you could stop for gas. Here you see some Esso gas pumps out front. This is a nice colorful nighttime view. Here's a real photo card of that same Midway where you could see the building here and some old cars parked in the parking lot. Inside, as I mentioned, they had a restaurant and a gift shop. Here's a view inside the gift shop where you could buy souvenirs, and there's a lot of souvenirs out there marked PA Turnpike. I have quite a collection of those myself, so you could pick up a little souvenir of your trip. The Midway Service Plaza was also famous for the fact that it had two service plazas, one on each side of the highway. Here's the service plaza on the opposite side, directly across the highway from the other service plaza, one in the eastbound direction, one in the westbound direction. And what's really interesting about these is there is a service tunnel that runs under the highway that connects both service plazas, so employees could get back and forth, and they could also move supplies and things back and forth from one to the other without having to cross this busy roadway. And to the best of my knowledge, that tunnel is still in existence and still is used today. If anybody out there knows anything more about that, I'd appreciate hearing about that. Here's a Chrome era card, again with a map on there showing you the route of the Turnpike and some views of the Turnpike at various places. Chrome era card. It's a black and white, and you can see here, this is the town of Everett, Pennsylvania, here in the foreground, as the Turnpike goes around there and heads off this way. And we are looking west in this particular view. Now, I talked about tunnels, and here we're going to talk about tunnels for a minute. There were 7 original tunnels on the Turnpike, and this is a portal to one of them. Now, it doesn't specify on this card which tunnel this was or was supposed to be, but the entrances were pretty uniform and consistent from one to another. So the look was very much the same from one tunnel to another. Here is a view inside. Again, it just says one of the tunnels. Up here, I can't read this. I probably could with a magnifying glass, but it doesn't matter. This is typical of what the inside of the tunnels look like. Now, one of the problems they had originally was that the tunnels, even though the road was 2 lanes in both directions, the tunnels were only 1 lane. And so that caused some traffic problems, some backups. And so as time went on, they found the need to widen and expand these tunnels to accommodate more traffic, which they did over the years. They many of them were expanded, an additional lane in each direction was added. And in one case, they actually bypassed 2 of the tunnels, and rather than go through the tunnels, they decided to go over the mountains. The 2 tunnels that were abandoned were the Rays Hill Tunnel and the Sidling Hill Tunnel. And this view here shows you, this is the Rays Hill Tunnel, and it was abandoned. It no longer serves any traffic. There's about a 13-mile stretch of the Turnpike that is no longer in use. And you can go there. You can walk it. It's like a hiking trail, although it's not a sanctioned hiking trail. You go there at your own risk. And also you could ride bikes there, but you can't take vehicles on it. It's a popular spot for people to visit. I've seen several videos about people walking it and going through the tunnels and talking about it. It was also featured in a movie, I understand. I haven't seen that movie, but I think it was in 2009. It was featured in a movie where they used this abandoned roadway as an abandoned roadway. I'll have to look up that movie. That could be interesting. But so 2 of the original tunnels were eliminated. Here's another view of a different tunnel, a multi-view card. Here's the Laurel Hill Tunnel, or the entrance to it. And you can see that in this case, it's only 1 lane in each direction. And that was later widened to 2 lanes in each direction. Here again is a view of the Midway Plaza. at the top. Here's a view looking out the end of a tunnel. We are looking out the end of the Kittatinny Tunnel and looking forward to the Blue Mountain Tunnel. These tunnels are only a short distance apart, and it's kind of fun when traveling the Turnpike to go through one tunnel and you're outside for a second and right back into another tunnel. Here's a view of an interchange. This is the Bedford interchange. This is a ramp coming off on the westbound lanes to get off to go to Bedford. Down here you can see the roadway. You would have got off to go, if you're traveling east, you would have got off back before you can see here on the card, and it loops around, takes you down here again to where the toll booth was located. Here's another interchange. This one is at Fort Littleton, Pennsylvania. Again, you would get off here and loop up around, cross over the top. Coming the other direction, the ramp is back up here before the bridge. Come around again to the toll plaza. Here is a view looking through the Aliquippa Gap. Again, you can see one of the trademark bridges that cross the Turnpike. Many of these have been replaced, but not all. And so they look different today. But again, like the tunnels, the bridges were very consistent in the look and the design. Here is a view at St. John's Church near New Baltimore. Whenever we travel the Turnpike, this is always kind of a landmark. The church is still there today. And you can see it coming in both directions. This is, again, a black and white card, more of a chrome era card. Moving on, here is a long stretch straightaway. It says 13-mile tangent of the Turnpike in Cumberland County. And you can see that just goes on and on and on in a straight line. There are not a lot of long straight stretches on the Turnpike. In fact, some of them, of the long straightaways, were reconfigured over the years to make the highway more interesting, and they actually put curves in where before they had a straightaway. I'm not sure I understand that. I mean, I would think the straightaway would be quicker and more efficient way to get from point A to point B, but I guess people got bored, and also some accidents may have happened because people got a little lost focus on these long straightaways, and so they added curves to the road. So that's an interesting fact. Here's another black and white. This is a view of actual construction work being done on the Allegheny Tunnel, and that is near Somerset, Pennsylvania. Excuse the squealing. For some reason, my microphone is acting up today. But yes, again, a construction scene here on the tunnel, which is very interesting. Cards with actual construction on the Turnpike are a little hard to find. So I didn't mention before, most Turnpike cards aren't particularly valuable. I would say they run in the $5 range, most of them, but there are some rare and unusual ones, and those would be worth more. This one I think would be, because this is the only one of these that I have seen in my years of collecting them. Not that there's not more out there, but this is the only one I've seen. So as I said, the construction scenes are a little harder to come up with. I even have some real photo views. Well, I'm not showing them you here today, but maybe in a future video I will. Here is a long straightaway, as you can see. I'm familiar. I recognize this patch of road here. I've traveled it many times. And a lot of beautiful country scenery along the highway. And lastly, there's another section of road. Here you see some bends in the road. And again, I'm pretty sure I know where this, it doesn't say on here, but I'm pretty sure I know where this stretch of highway has been, although this through here has been remodeled and expanded a little bit over the years, but it still looks a lot like this. Just lastly to mention that the Turnpike originally, of course, had toll booths at each interchange where you would pay your fare for traveling on the highway. I would say that originally it was meant to be, the tolls were meant to be temporary, and as soon as the highway was paid for, it was going to be turned over as a free highway, but that has never happened. And I guess that's not an unusual occurrence. Once people are used to paying a price for something, it's pretty hard to take that away. But anyway, over the years, as things have changed, the Turnpike has expanded, and other conditions have changed. The Easy Pass system was introduced, which is an electronic toll-taking system where you don't have to stop and pay an actual human being who will then give you a receipt and change if you need it. But you can drive right through the toll booth, and an electronic device in your car will register you with them, and the appropriate toll will be taken out of your account. And it also has a system where if you don't have an account, it will photograph your license plate and send you a bill in the mail. So we have pretty much gotten to the point. I think the last toll booth that had actual humans was in 2020, and they stopped that because of the COVID epidemic. They didn't want their toll takers exposed to that, and so they took them off the job, and they have not returned. It is 100% electronic now, and that's just another one of the changes that has occurred over the years. So hope you enjoyed this little bit of travel on the Pennsylvania Turnpike and a little bit of information. If you have anything you'd like to tell me about it, some interesting facts or something you've learned, or perhaps an experience you've had when you've traveled on the Turnpike, I'd be glad to hear about that. But that's it for now. Well, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for watching. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. That helps us to grow and reach more people. If you like this video, please give us a like. Again, that helps us to get our name out there and reach more people. If you see that little bell down there at the bottom of the screen, if you hit that, you'll be notified when we issue a new video. And as always, we welcome your comments. Constructive criticism is always welcome. Tell me what you like and what you don't like, or what you'd like to see more of. I would appreciate that information. And as always, we thank you. Ellie, Lucy, and I thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.